So I'm just going to pass it on to our host today, Dr. Patti Britton. So excited to have her here. So honored that she's here to chat with us. She's a nationally board certified clinical sexologist, co-founder of Sex Coach U, and recently featured in Oprah's O Magazine. Just lots of cool stuff. So really excited to have her chat with us today. So I'm going to step off and I'm going to let Dr. Patti do her thing. So let me just stop sharing and then you can go for it. Thanks so much, Dr. Patti, for being here.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with all of you to talk about my favorite topic, and that's happy and healthy sex as we age. And be sure to check in with what Sarah's going to share with you, because I have a gift for you at the end and it will be posted for you. So you can just dance right over to the bit.ly webpage and then you can download my free gift. So I'm going to share my screen. Every speaker in the world gets nervous when it's time to go from speaking to you from our computer to share screen. As I'm going to offer you a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to dive right into why it's so important as we age that we keep vital and healthy and sexually alive. So let me share my screen. I'm going to come over to the PowerPoint and get that started for you and take you into my world as a clinical sexologist. So 10 things you can do now. I am going to be resourcing you with actually 10 ideas, 10 steps, 10 strategies, 10 actual behavioral kind of areas that you can implement into your lives right now, both as males and females, and any other way that you identify yourself. So let's see, hang on a minute. So let me go back a slide and just say that I'm going to be speaking to you explicitly. I understand you had a speaker recently on dating, and that speaker talked about STIs, which is what we now call STDs, sexually transmissible infections and diseases. And hopefully that was as explicit as you needed to know to keep yourself safe. Sex is a natural part of being a human being. And I believe, as a sexologist, having worked in sexology for over 40 years, that sex is an essential part of your being healthy for your entire life long. So I invite you to open your minds, to open your hearts, be present, and stay with me. Just a little bit about me. I've been doing this work, as I just said, over 40 years. Yes, I am 76. I walk my talk. I'm here to be your role model if you need one, that we can stay juicy and sexually alive all the way until our last breath. I've been an author. I've written 5 books, lots of chapters. There's all kinds of stuff about me on my website if you want to learn more. But I'm a professional who has dedicated my entire life and career to promoting healthy and happy sexuality, no matter how old you are. And I'm lovingly referred to as the mother of sex coaching because that's the profession that I actually began as its pioneer in 1993. And that's what I do at Sex Coach U, letteru.com. I train people who are aspiring to do the kind of work that I do as a clinical sexologist and as a certified sex coach. And I am really ready and here to support any of you who are in that boomer generation or around that boomer generation or after the boomer generation, who really want to know, how do I open myself back up again? How do I stay vital and vibrant as a human sexual being? And so we're going to dive in. So I'm going to begin with the bad news, okay? Sexual aging sucks. It really does. And at the same time, the other truth is there really are things that you can do. So I say there's hope for you. And when we look at what is going on biologically, biophysically, we know that the perimenopause, when cisgendered females, women, that's what I'm going to be saying from this moment on, women, when they begin to transition from their reproductive years into their older years post-reproductive, they're going through what for many people is a really difficult transition period. And that's called the perimenopause. For many women, if they're lucky, it's only about 4 years. Mine was 7, some are longer. And menopause is defined as it is 1 year since your last menstruation or your last period. Now, listen, men go through andropause. So if you're a man, cisgendered male, listening or watching this, you have to also honor that you're going through that transition, or you have. And because we only have a little bit of time, I can't go into all of the biological factors that really you may or may not want to learn about. But here's the bottom line. There are 3 big things that happen as we age. We sag, things droop, and we dry up. And I think that's a really critical piece of sexual pleasure and sexual wellness, is that factor of drying up, and things slow down. And I'm going to be deconstructing some of this as we go along, but we'll also open it up for Q&A after, so that if there's something that is stopping you from feeling like you're vital and vibrant and sexually alive, and it has to do with that sense of drying up or slowing down, you can ask a question about that. And really, the changes that occur as we age around our sexuality and our self-image have a lot to do with how we function, or how well we function, and especially sexual desire, because one of the biggest words that isn't on any of these slides is the H word, and that is hormones. As hormones change, we begin to feel a decline. And hopefully I'm going to give you some solutions for if you're feeling some of that effect of the decline. So here's what science tells us. It tells us that sex is actually healthy. And here's a list from WebMD, which was published 2013, so 10 years ago. It's keeping your immune system vital and functioning at a high level. Having sex. Now, I'm not here to define sex. We usually think of sex as tab A in slot B, right? But sex is much more than that. And we'll see if we can maybe pull out some of that definition as we go along. But one of the things that happens if we think of sex as the full act of sex through sexual intercourse, and then orgasm, and for males, ejaculatory release, sex actually improves our immune system. It boosts our desire for more sex. Good sex begets desire for more sex. It improves women's bladder control. This is so important as we age as women, because one of the things that happens is we can stop being sexual with a partner because we're feeling shame or worry about leakage. It lowers blood pressure. It counts as exercise. That's really important. I'm going to be talking about exercise. And it is actually a modifier, if not an eliminator of pain, because of the endorphin rush. It helps with prostate cancer, mitigating the likeliness and the likelihood that men are going to have a prostate cancer diagnosis. It helps you sleep better, and it reduces stress. How about that for a reason to be sexual? So I'm going to talk to you about 10 specific things that you can do right now. Now, they're a little bit more global than like just snap your finger. And I just want to encourage every single person who's watching this or listening to it that you've got this. Let's take a look. So number 1, I'm sure you're not surprised to see that number 1 is to minimize stress in your life. And when we talk about the impact or the effects of stress, one of the biggies is cortisol dumping. Many of my female clients have complained to me along the way, sorry about text if you're seeing that there is a tire around their middle. And that's not something that really boosts or enhances our self-esteem. Cortisol is our stress hormone, and it seems to really like fat. And so there's also something that's taking place as we age, and that is that estrogen lives in fat cells, and estrogen really loves to find itself in that same middle of the body where cortisol ends up. So de-stressing yourself is really important for health, for fitness, and for self-image. Here's another one: avoid burnout. I don't know what all of you are doing with your days. I don't know much about your lifestyle, But many of us live in a pressure cooker where we're pushing ourselves to do more. And we really need to stop that and be mindful. I love that Sarah was talking about mindfulness training. Mindful is about learning how to be present and be with yourself. And I'm a big proponent on focusing on gratitude. Gratitude is such a magnet for wellness, and on focusing on the positives in your life. So when it comes to minimizing stress, I'm going to give you some other ideas for that, but basically asking yourself, what's enough? Am I doing enough today for myself and maybe for others? So here's how it all connects, right? Like, how do we de-stress? Well, one of the ways we de-stress is to exercise. And what did I say earlier? Guess what are the health benefits of sex itself? It's a form of exercise. So I'm here to be a voice in your head to get and be and stay fit. Because if there's one thing that I see among older people who are my clients or my colleagues or my family or my friends, it's that when they stop exercising, wellness really is at risk. Every kind of wellness, and sexual wellness is a part of that. So here are some examples or ideas of things you could do. I have no idea where you're located, but I'm assuming a lot of you are in my hometown of New York City. And you can take a walk through the city and walk for blocks and blocks and blocks, or you can go out in nature or go to a park, whatever it is that you can do to get that body moving. Also, eating healthy. Let me go back a slide and hydrate. I'm sure you know that hydration is a really important part of our being well as human beings. And not being hydrated has a real impact on your sexual function. And it's really easy to have a glass of wine or a margarita on Friday night or whatever it is, a beer, but avoid being in excess. Moderation really is the key to a healthy life, and avoid using things even like the world that I live in California, and that really is in half of our country, where marijuana and cannabis products, CBD infused products are legal. You have to be careful to not be in excess there either. So I'm telling you, you got to move your body every day. You probably know what the head of the CDC even spoke out loud and said, sitting is the new smoking. So we need to get into movement. And of course, smoking is a really, really unhealthy practice. So moving to the next slide. There's one study that I found that reads as follows, that being satisfied with one's body image is related with a higher sexual quality of life. And this is really true for women in particular who sit at a desk all day. So this is one of the most important things I can share with you, which is use it or lose it. It is not just a saying. One of the things that happens as we age is that we experience atrophy of our sexual anatomy. We really do have to confront, if we're not using our sexual anatomy, our genitals, what's going to happen is they're going to shrink, they're going to atrophy. And I've had female clients, for example, who may have a fused inner labia or inner lip, and has issues around that, shame around that, fear around that, that something is wrong. So using your body in all ways is part of being healthy. And here's what this is the explicit message I want to give you, which is that masturbation is a natural and healthy part of being a sexual human, and it's good for you. And it primes the pump, meaning that the more that we can touch ourselves, the more that we can embrace ourselves, the more we're going to have blood flow, we're going to have oxygen flowing into the tissues, and we're going to keep ourselves awake, sexually speaking. And the same thing applies to men in a different way, which is that having sex all the way through to ejaculation, whether you're with a partner or you're masturbating, self-pleasuring regularly, is very important as a health behavior to prevent prostate disease or even a benign enlarged prostate. And one of the reasons is, it's very interesting when you look at the health aspects of our sexual aging, men who experience an enlarged prostate often have frequent urination. They feel shame or worry or concern about that. They don't feel comfortable in bed with a partner because they may have to keep getting up to go to the bathroom. And it's really a serious issue if it's not treated. So more to say about that later, perhaps. One MD, who's a very revered physician that I know personally, says that a clogged prostate can cause cancer and increase symptoms of aging and illness. So it's very important to keep the pipes clean. Number 4, have frequent orgasms. They are good for your health and well-being, whether it's a little or a explosion, a volcanic explosion, because our orgasms change as we age. Usually they become weaker, sorry to say, and often slower to experience or attain or reach. And they often change based on how much sleep we've had, how much arousal we have had, which is the key often to experiencing an orgasm, and what state our body is in, but also what state our mind is in. When I train my students at Sex Coach U and elsewhere, I train them in my 5-part holistic methodology called the MEBS signature system. And that's because how we get to our orgasm is connected to the 5 parts of the sexual self, even that occur within a sexual act, alone, and or with a partner. And those 5 parts are what we're thinking, our mind, what we're feeling, our emotions, what we're doing, and what our body is capable of doing. That's the body part. And also where our energy is flowing. Is our energy flowing? Or are we like all the time? And last, M for mind, E for emotions, B for body, which also includes body image and our behaviors, our actions, energy, and last is spirit. This is not talking about spiritual pathways or religion at all. It's talking about the essence of ourselves. And so in order to experience orgasm, we have to kind of know that. We have to be able to tap into that essence of self, which I like to call the little blue flame. Let's see if I say more about that. So, number 5, mind your mind. So getting into those 5 parts, it's really important to get out of your head if you're being sexual, alone and or with a partner. Get into your body. And I find that with a lot of my clients, what they're doing to themselves that's blocking their sexual flow is that they're, as Dr. Robert Ellis from New York City used to say, stop shoulding on yourself. Stop talking negatively to yourself. And think about it. Take a moment and say, do I talk negatively to myself? And if you're not answering yes, you're probably kidding yourself, because most of us do have moments during a day when we're really not being nice or kind to ourselves. So catch that and then reverse that into something nice or kind or positive you can say to yourself, like, I'm too old to be sexual. No, you're not. I'm vital and juicy and vibrant and I'm ready for a partner. Or I'm too fat. No, you're not. You're in a lustrous, juicy, sensual body, etc. So here's one of the secrets. If there's anything that I can teach you today that is the best foreplay that you can have to get turned on so that you can engage in sex, it's anticipation. And that's why I'm such an advocate for better communication and fantasies. So here's an idea for a fantasy. I'm not here to sell you a book. I'm here to tell you why I wrote this book. So this was my erotic novel that I wrote in 2001, self-published, The Adventures of Her in France. And I dedicated this book to women to free them so that they could be free sexually, free from oppression of their own messaging, their minds, what they do to themselves, and what others say, what others expect of women, and to create a new paradigm to celebrate sexual pleasure. And so I say, may we transcend all binds with our sexual pleasure and find ultimate satisfaction through our sexual bliss. That's our joy. That's our freedom. And men can also learn how to please or pleasure women by reading this book. This is a really juicy book. Now, here's something else when it comes to minding your mind. I had to add in this slide because I see couples sitting at, you'll see the last bullet here, intimacy is not texting your loved one across a booth at Denny's. I see so many couples who are out on a date or who are, somehow intimate and spending time. And what are they doing? They're looking at their phone, they're texting. Please put the phone away at meals. Set up EFAST, electronic times that are on fast, that are on a break, so that you can stop letting your life be constantly interrupted. If you want to be successful sexually, you have to be in flow. And you have to not let those or the whatever your notes are, or your little sounds, the texts, the emails, the beeps, everything is interrupting flow. And you also need to give yourself a break because your brain is getting tired, your eyes are getting tired, and your energy systems are depleting. So I'm an advocate for taking an electronic break every single hour. So number 6 out of the 10 things you can do. This is huge, everybody. Add in pleasure products. Whether you see here on the screen, Uber Lube. Okay, this is my absolute favorite lube for older people in particular. It's silicone based. It's extremely healthy. It's viscous. It's not too slippery. It's just the right amount of slippery. It stays in the body. This is an incredible product. I get no money from telling you about Uber Lube. I do get a lot of samples, which you could also get if you ask the company, but this is really worth a try. And a healthy lube is very important. Sometimes there's a company called Good Clean Love. Their products have an aloe basis. There are also products on the marketplace that don't have healthy ingredients in them. So you need to learn how to be a smart consumer when you're picking your products. There also is a movement today for cannabis infused lubes. Some of them purport to be helping with sensual feelings. Some of them purport to be actually enhancing arousal or allowing you to feel more tuned in and turned on. But there also are products in the market today that are adding sugars and things that are not so good to have inside your body in your sexual anatomy. So you need to get smart about what's going to be healthful and helpful for you. Now, for the men in the room, men can use toys as well. There are so many incredible products on the market today, particularly now we're moving out of kind of the lube area into the toy area. There are masturbation sleeves that simulate being inside a vagina. There are machines that help pump the blood. And there are, of course, toys that are for different body parts or that simulate different body parts of the gender that you're interested in and turned on by. And of course, for females, to have a vibrator handy is not, this is very important, not a threat for a partner. I advocate for all the couples that I work with, a vibrator is a couple's best friend. So look at a vibe as your partner's best friend. And you can see here on the screen that in the middle, better than the magic wand and half the price, this is the Bliss wand, which is a cheaper model of the Hitachi magic wand, which was the training wheels that I used to use for every single one of my pre-orgasmic female clients. You can see a little square here called luxury toys. Those are some of the new devices. On the right is a WeVibe, which is a couples product that can be inserted intravaginally and be on the clitoris while it's inside the vagina, while a penis is inside that same vagina. That's an incredible, huge change in the pleasure products industry to have vibrators that are couple usable. And then there are so many different toys. Often I take my students to a toy store, not like Toys R Us, but like a pleasure chest. And we go through a curated tour of that store to see the plethora of toys that are out there today, many of which are really high-tech driven. So there is plenty out there to explore. And I'm a huge, huge advocate of, if you're not experiencing orgasm, if you're not experiencing arousal, consider getting a toy and use a good and healthy lube. Number 7. I'll bet you wonder why sleep is part of this presentation. Because if we don't get enough sleep, we are not going to turn on. We are not going to feel good. We're going to be cranky or ornery with partners. And it is a depleter of our entire overall health status. So sleep is a really important factor in sexual health and pleasure. And I'm a huge proponent of napping. I nap almost every single day. And I find that napping is a way to reboot my energy systems, especially for those of us like me who spend hours at a time on a computer looking at an image on Zoom. Zoom fatigue is real. It's depleting our energy systems. So if you're a Zoomer, you're always at a Zoom meeting or you're going to classes like this, then you need to make sure that you also calm down and reboot your energy systems, kind of like rebooting your computer operating system, right? So this is a huge area, and I could spend probably 5 hours talking more about this, and I only have a few minutes. And that is number 8, find mental health support. So most human beings have some form of past trauma, and you need to learn how to heal that. There are some incredible new techniques, one of which I don't even have on the screen. And one of them is EMDR, which is rapid eye movement treatment. It actually neutralizes in the brain the trauma event or events. A similar methodology is called brain spotting, which is using a light, again, focusing in on that part of the brain that's activated by the memory of the trauma and reducing it, sometimes eliminating it in even one treatment. And what is a huge phenomenon today is microdosing, using someone who is very skilled, competent, and trained to utilize microdosing, whether it's with mushrooms or psychedelics or other forms of brain altering systems and products and medications. That has to be done with somebody who's highly qualified. And the results that are coming in from the literature are astounding in terms of how rapidly people are being really elevated out of depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders. When we come into a relationship, the next bullet, eliminate your baggage, we bring our baggage with us. We don't come baggage free when we enter into a new relationship. And even in a long-term committed relationship, we're accumulating baggage often if we don't clear it. So you need to learn how to eliminate that mental baggage and resolve the conflicts that are in the way. In the world of just psychology and couples counseling, often the remedy for a couple who is stuck sexually and maybe that wonderful word sexless relationship, often in the psychological world, the answer is we'll get them to communicate better. And that's important. But in the sexological world, it's get them to change their mindset, their emotions, their behaviors, and learn to approach sex in new ways together, but get into actions. That's how coaching works. We actually do assessment of our clients at a very deep level, and then we provide them with action planning that have action steps in them. So it's very behavioral, but it's very action oriented toward results. It's quite different from therapy. And here's the thing that I believe so strongly, that the way to heal relationship wounds, things that we bring into relationships that we've maybe carried for 60 years, is to be in relationship, usually with a good guide, whether that's a psychotherapist or a religious counselor, pastoral counselor, or a coach who's qualified to do that kind of work. And I believe it's very important if you're stuck sexually because of mental health issues, you need to deal with the mental health issues first in therapy and then hire a qualified sex coach. So number 9, you got to love the skin you're in. I'm going to tell you that if you hate your body, oh boy, it's going to be really hard to be flowing and experience pleasure and be wanting to share that body with a lover, right? So 90%, if not higher, I've never done an accurate statistical assessment. All of the females I've worked with, pretty much all of them have negative body image messaging in their heads, something a little bit that's eating at them, or even it's a really loud megaphone kind of symphony that's going on in their minds. And the same is true for men as they age. And I find this to be something that is so important to address as a clinical sexologist and a sex coach, to help my clients really bust those messages and move through that to self-love and self-acceptance. Here's why. How you feel about being seen affects whether or not you're going to show up for sex. And that could be sex with yourself, or it could be sex with a partner, which is usually the case. And it also affects your desire for sex, because if you're not happy with your body and you never want to be seen, and I mean seen not in an intimate way where someone sees your vulnerabilities, knows who you really are. I mean seen physically, you're probably not going to be open for sex. And so the shift is really to self-love. We got to love ourselves, and we have to accept ourselves and move into what I call body positivity. So number 10, have fun. Don't you love this barrel of monkeys image? Sex and life are really meant to be joyful, playful, and fun. And when I hear people talk about, well, I have to work on my sex life, I say, no, 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 no. Sex is not work. When we're kids, we know how to play. It's sort of intrinsic, right? Like, we're natural to be playful, play games, be free in our bodies and ourselves. And then we grow up and we contract and contract and we control. And sex is adult play. And if you can shift your mind, even if this one idea that you can shift your mental thinking about what is sex meant to be for you, and think of it as adult play, it's going to change everything, because that's what it's really meant to be. So here's my bonus tip. And I alluded to this before when I was talking about the 5 parts of the sexual self, my system, MEBES. In the spirit is that essence of self. You know what that is. You know that part of you that lives deep inside you. I don't mean inside your genital anatomy. I mean inside your soul. Maybe it does live in a part of your body. Maybe it lives in your solar plexus, or maybe it does live in your vulva, which is the word we use for the whole open of the sexual anatomy of a female, or at the base of your scrotum if you're a male-bodied person. So that little blue flame is like our pilot light, and we have to keep it lit, and we have to feed it so that it can expand, and so that our light is open and shining and bright. And that is our sexual flame that we have an opportunity to keep alive and flourishing, to be sexually alive, and to experience the full benefit of having happy and healthy sex as we age. So my gift to you is a free ebook. You can go to the little bit.ly and you can use that to click, download the book. It's in the chat. And it's really this presentation in an ebook format. So if there were parts of what I talked about that were like, wait a minute, what did she say? And I didn't get that. You can have the ebook to review. What are those 10 things that I can do now? And what did she say about hormones? It's not in the book necessarily, because hormones are not our friend as we age, and our hormones decline. And it's one of the biggest reasons why women feel that sex is painful. And that's really a whole other discussion, which maybe we can have in the Q&A. So if you wish to contact me directly, you can email me, drpattyxox@gmail.com. You can find me at drpattybritton.com. That's my home website. There's a contact page for a free 15-minute consultation. I love giving those. I'm not looking for clients. I'm not here to sell books. I'm here to really be a resource for you, because I care about my generation. And I'm here as that voice to be your advocate. So please check out the ebook, check out my website. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Patti. Just learned so much.
There's so much to say.
So I know, but it's amazing. We do have a few questions in the Q&A. So if you haven't put a question in and you're mulling over one, please feel free to put it in, and we'll just kind of start going down the ones that we have. So I can read the first one if you'd like. So someone asked, my husband and I do not have the same sex drive as we get older. We are in our 70s. He wants sex much more often. I don't like rejecting him, but I don't want to have sex if I don't feel like it. Help.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So this is such a common phenomenon, and it's not always husband and they have the higher libido. Sometimes it's the wife or the partner who has the higher libido. So uneven desire is common. I don't even want to say it's kind of normal. Like, imagine being in a relationship with someone with whom you have a sexual relationship as well. You're never going to have the same, I call sexual biorhythms at the same hour or every night when one wants it and the other doesn't. So in some ways, what we're talking about here is desire differences, right? And so I'm going to call you Mary, even though that may or may not be your name. So Mary, because you're not having the same level of interest or drive or libido as your partner, your husband, there is something that we love to talk about with women, and it's based on the work of the Kinsey Institute, very important research institute, and the book Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. All of you should read that book. Come As You Are is a very important book on how things work. And there is something that we live with as a myth, that desire should be spontaneous, that we should want sex. And in fact, most of us live in a world of responsive desire. So what does that mean? It means that if your husband asks you, say yes and see what happens. If your husband asks you and you're not really desirous of sex, communicate about what is a turn on for you. Is it getting your back rubbed? Is it getting a foot massage? That was always one of mine. Is it being told, honey, you look gorgeous tonight? Or is it, I love you? Or is it touching you in certain places on your body, which usually doesn't begin with touching the genitals, guys, or in heterosexual relationships. So that's responsive desire, something that evokes or turns you on. And I don't mean makes you highly aroused and desirous. I mean, something that allows you to say yes to more, to more, to more. So that's what I want to say to you, Mary, is try that. And it, there's also, I could talk about this for a long time, and I'm going to pull this in. There's also something that I coach my couples about, and that is that if you've agreed to be in a marriage or a long-term or a committed relationship, you have a contract to that person. Each of you has a contract to the other. And so what is your contract agreement? You need to talk about that. And you need to decide, if you invite me for sex, I'm going to say yes to you, even if I'm not really desirous or in the mood, as long as I feel well. So if I'm in pain or I'm not feeling well that day because maybe I'm worried I have COVID, hello, everybody, in this world we live in today, then I have a right to say no, but I also will say, but I'll be available another time for you. That's how we get out of that horrible loop of feeling and worrying about rejecting our partner, saying no, by saying no right now, but yes later, and also giving it a try in terms of, well, touch me or say things to me or awaken me in different ways, and I'll see if my responsive desire kicks in. So those are my answers for that first question.
Amazing. This kind of hits a little bit on, I would say, more hormonal question, and we have two very similar, so I'll just combine them. Any recommendations for vaginal dryness to help reduce pain during sex? So besides lubricant, maybe the safety and effectiveness of something like an injection, an insert, vaginal rejuvenation. They mentioned Thermviva and Mona Lisa as like some examples.
So I'm going to be very straight with you, every single person here. I'm not a fan of these medical interventions. As a clinical sexologist, a clinician and an educator and a trainer, I've spent my entire life teaching people how to use what you already have naturally and how to add in safe and healthy natural products. That's where I lean into. The products that are on the market today that can be helpful are some of the healthy and good lubes that I even talked about. Good Clean Love, for example, has very healthy and plant-based products. Uber Lube is a phenomenal lubricant. There are other lubes that I think it's called Replens, has been designed for the postmenopausal woman. There also are safe ways of adding hormones to your body if you are not responsive to that as someone who has experienced risk of cancer because of perhaps your history, or is a cancer survivor. I'm a big advocate of the Estring, ESTRING. I am wearing one right now. I have a colleague who has presented webinars around the world who is an advocate of estering for postmenopausal women because it keeps the vaginal tissues fed with a microdose of estradiol every day for 90 days when you're wearing the ring. It's like wearing a fitting ring for a diaphragm. And so that little donut is emitting, it's intravaginally inserted, it sits under the cervix, and it's just there. And there's usually no pain associated with it, but what it does is it releases enough of the hormone of estrogen, estradiol in this case, that is not going to be influencing health overall or risking cancer. And secondly, it's going to be, I want to say, infusing the vaginal walls enough so that it mitigates the pain. The main complaint that women have as they age postmenopausally, if they're having anything inserted intravaginally, is that it feels like sandpaper or it hurts. And genital or sexual pain disorders are real. If you're having any kind of pain in terms of insertion, it's often at this is a vagina. It's often at the introitus. Okay, it's often at entry. This is where the tightest part is, because when you go inside, it kind of balloons out, especially as you get more aroused, it expands. And so this is where you want to put copious amounts of lube and exhale. So you want, we could also have a little mini lecture on anal sex, which we're not going to right now, but there's a whole protocol for that kind of experience. Same thing true as we're older for vaginal entry, the penetration of it. I am not a fan of vaginal rejuvenation techniques. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't support a client or a student or one of you who wants to explore that. They're very expensive. They are not FDA approved according to the research that I have done. They are often part of this orientation in medical care for beautification, not healthification. And I'm a public health person. I'm a proponent of health and wellness and well-being. And so if it's about plumping the G-spot, I'm not a fan of that. That can be done. There's Botox injections. There's all kinds of injections. I don't believe in numbing our bodies so that we don't feel the pain, because there's a reason you're feeling the pain. So I would much rather behaviorally you explore different ways of even opening up. Like maybe you need that little estrogenation. Maybe you need a better lubricant that is thicker and more viscous so that when there's something inserted, it's not like grinding against the walls, which are thinner tissues as hormones decline. That's the problem. And one of the good things is for older couples who are heterosexual, who are engaging in penis and vagina sex, often those erections aren't as firm and strong as they used to be. So penetration isn't going to be as painful. See, there's always good news in everything. And so I think it's very important to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Try the natural approach first. If you really are strongly leaning toward going to a med spa or seeing a gynecologist, and I know I did a Google search, who's offering these techniques for lots of money, then try it once. See how you feel. See if it helps. I'll tell you why. The good part of it from a scientific perspective is that when you're putting the laser light, red light, or blue light inside the vaginal wall, the canal, what it's doing is it's bringing blood flow into the tissues, it's probably oxygenating, it's bringing heat, light, and accelerating blood flow. And it's stimulating the production of collagen and elastin. So it is making it more pliable, more elastic, and collagen is plumping up. So I think you really have to think well about it, and you have to be a really wary consumer when you think about these kinds of procedures. Enough said.
That's really helpful. I think noticing the difference between, like you said, the beautification versus the healthification. I think that's a wonderful way of describing that.
Yeah.
You mentioned healthy lubes. You gave some great examples of ones that you love. Just so people know, what would you consider unhealthy ingredients in lube if someone is shopping for?
For the most part, sugar. So you're going to see sugar in different words. Saccharin, that I don't have it memorized. Look it up, Google it. But anything that has sugars in it may have a tendency to promote what we would think of as a yeast infection. Sugar's not our friend. It's not our friend anywhere, particularly inside. So avoid anything that is sugary at all costs.
Awesome. Thank you. Someone asked, this is great. How do you start the sex conversation with a new partner?
A new partner. Out of the bedroom. Not after you've had 4 glasses of wine, but in neutral territory. So I think it's really, really hard to break into that conversation. And I should probably make a PDF of conversation starters for new lovers or something. But it's about being authentic. Like, if this is I'm going to say something that you may not all agree with. If this is a person that you're willing to give your body to, I believe that sex is sacred. Now, why I say that, it's not a religious thing, okay? It's because, just think about it. Another human being is going to put a part of their body inside your body, whether it's their tongue in your mouth, their penis in your vagina, or wherever. And that's kind of a big deal if you think about it, right? So honor that. Just honor that. That's what I mean by sacred. Like, take that in, honor that. And find out, what do you want? Where's your red light, green light, yellow light inside you? What are you wanting? What are you willing to do? And you got to know yourself first. You also have to know, what do I need? What do I want? What do I like? What don't I want? What don't I like? What's okay? What's not okay? Just kind of like big chart columns. And then have that conversation in a neutral zone, like a Starbucks, where you can sit and have coffee, and you can even talk about it almost in third person, like, I really like you, and we're getting to know each other. And, we've been on 4 dates already, and I am attracted to you. Where are you with that? So you begin with expressing that I statements, beginning with the word I. And then you open it up and you say, have you ever tried, or what do you want overall? Like, if you were dating somebody new, and maybe that comes out sometimes in the prelude, especially for online dating, which is a whole conversation I wish I could have with all of you. That online dating is such a scary world for older people. Online dating is really the way today, post-COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID. COVID screwed everything up, but online dating is our vehicle for the most part. And maybe not if you're in a facility where you have social activities where you can meet people and actually do it what used to be the normal way. Again, that word normal. It used to be natural to see someone across a room and go, hey, hi, and then engage in a conversation, because you've already had that eye-to-eye experience. You don't have that with online dating. But sometimes with online dating, the advantage is you get to write a lot. You get to say a lot. You get to communicate a whole lot up front before you actually get in real time. And you have to have the conversation about within yourself first. What do I want? What do I need? What do I like? What do I not like? And then open it up with somebody before you jump in bed. Don't think that during sex is the time to say, I really don't like my clitoris being touched until, or, I haven't had an erection in 5 years since my wife died, and I'm really feeling scared to get close to you. All of those things really it makes us so vulnerable. Sex makes us feel very vulnerable. So we need to honor that about ourselves as well, that it's a vulnerability zone, and really power ourselves up and give ourselves credit for even trying. I didn't think I'd say that, but I mean that.
That's great. Someone asked a great question. What about porn?
What about porn? There's nothing wrong with porn if it is by choice. If you're in a relationship and you've negotiated what role porn plays, porn is arousal material. Porn was created to get people turned on, originally men, but certainly then women, and now everyone. Porn usage, porn dependency, notice I don't say addiction because I'm not someone who purports the perspective of addiction around sexuality and porn. It's really dependent on porn, as long as it's not hijacking you away from your relationship with yourself or with your partner or partners or your job or your family. So you see, this is a spiral that can go down the rabbit hole of doom. So you have to really be careful, because there's a lot of literature that has talked about how it's rewiring the brain. And there are many people who are very anti-porn. I'm not anti-porn at all. I'm a pro-porn feminist. But if it's appropriately negotiated and communicated about and used for enhancement of a relationship with self and or with a partner. And you got to find out what kind of porn you like if you're using porn.
And I'm apologizing in advance. I'm not sure if I am pronouncing this correctly, but someone asked, what do you recommend if a spouse has Peyronie's disease?
So that's correctly. So Peyronie's. So Peyronie's is a bent penis. And there are ads on TV now. It's kind of clever, actually. Their logo and their way that they describe it is a carrot. So you'll see these ads for the bent carrots. And Peyronie's disease is usually attributed to an injury, believe it or not. And so what's happened is somehow, maybe playing sports, the man got hit by a baseball at 95 miles an hour. Ow, that would probably really be bad. Let's just say, I don't know, who knows what. And so it's scar tissue has formed, so it's bending, it's not straight. So there are techniques to assist with that. I'm not an expert on what they are, but check out the carrot people, because that's what they're about. They're really about helping men who have Peyronie's disease, but also finding different ways of angle and depth of penetration. So sometimes it's really, remember, I'm here for the natural first, always the natural first. If we can solve these problems naturally, authentically, organically, we're going to be better off than relying on a pill or even having to have a surgery. But if we need that, we need that. So finding a new way, like a new angle for penetration, whatever, if you have a partner, how can you angle your body against that person's body so that the bend is going to be experienced in a positive, not painful way? I think that's really the only thing I can answer that with.
Great. Check out the carrot, people. How do you reassure a man who can't maintain an erection? So I know you mentioned this earlier about the erection not being as strong as it used to be, but if a man can't maintain an erection, how do you reassure them even if it doesn't matter to you? And they wrote, tongues can work wonders, which I love. Thank you for writing that.
Yes, they can. Tongues and hands. So this is the default mechanism that partners have for men who are having erectile problems, or even for partners who don't feel like it tonight. Why not offer a wonderful hand job? That's one reason that I'm doing this. Tongues, of course, but I think that first try cock rings. That's what they're called: C rings, cock rings, penile rings. And they can be used once the penis starts to become hard, to put that ring, put it at the base of the shaft. I don't have a model here. This is a pen. If this were a penis, it would be a very, very skinny, long penis. But put the ring, so if this is the tip of the penis, and this is where the wall is, this is the abdomen, you have it just begin to expand, and then you put the ring here, okay, against what we call the base of the shaft. And so this is how the penis would look erect. So that ring is coming this way. Also another ring. So I have clients who use 2 and 3 rings. C rings are really cheap. They're like $8 a piece. And there are various kinds of them. There's one called the Screaming O. I don't know if it's still on the market, but there are rip-offs of it that are, it's like a clear rubber ring that's stretchy, and it has a little bullet that goes in it for clitoral stimulation. Kind of cool. So it becomes a partner device, but it holds the blood flow in. So, excuse me. So having an erection that goes down is really first try to help him with C rings. Secondly, penises in vaginas is not the only way to be sexual. And that's what you're really saying. You know, we have studies that have shown that actually masturbation produces a much more intense orgasm than partner sex. That's been in the literature for a long time. Oral sex is a very, very effective way to experience sexual pleasure and connection and orgasm. And it can be arousing for both partners, regardless of your gender. So just believe the partner when the partner says to you, it's okay. Because one of the things that kills erections is performance anxiety. In other words, worrying about your erection is going to kill your erection. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. So if I'm always in my head going, I'm going to lose it. Oh my God, I'm going to lose it. Oh no, I hope she doesn't think that. Get out of there. Breathe, stop, come into your body again. Remember in the mind slide, I said, come into your body, get out of your mind. This is the most important thing you can do as a male, is to stop worrying about it and experience the pleasure of the moment. I know we've run out of time.
I was just going to say that was a great place to end. I'm sorry if we didn't get to all the questions. Dr. Patti had her contact info. So if you want to send her any questions, feel free. I also included the free ebook in the chat, as well as her website. So definitely go check it out. Dr. Patti, thank you so much. This was so informative for all generations, but really happy that you were able, I'm really happy that you were able to be here today. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope everyone has a beautiful week. And
thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
It's so great
we'll
to
see you
be
for the
here.
next one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.